Well, good evening. I was just sitting over there during the singing of that last song. I realized there's about 3 slides missing, so I was trying to type them in as fast as I could. I'll read those to you when we get to that point. So I'm going to try in 41 minutes to kind of give you an overview of what we've been doing at FCA. I want to thank Rex and the elders for asking me to speak. This is a partnership that we could not have done without the support of a lot of people in this room and some who are no longer with us in this world. So it has definitely been a village effort, and so even back to our early roots. So what I'm going to try to do, I want to come back to that Exodus verse before we leave, because it has some significance, not only to what we've been doing there, but kind of our philosophy of how we continue to work for the kingdom. So I thought it would be appropriate to start. There may be some here who've not even been out to the school. Maybe you didn't even know we had a school down there. So I want to start with what I usually start with when I do a school tour. We're often touring people that are new to town or new to private school, especially new to Christian school. So let's get the basics out of the way. So our mascot's the Florida Panther. We're affiliated with the Churches of Christ. We enroll students from 3K, 3 years old, all the way through 12th grade. And our location is now Lithia Pinecrest, but there was a time when we met here in this building, in the back building, to be the fellowship hall, to be precise. And there are some rooms back there that have a few stories attached to them. So FCA was founded in 1992. Debbie McMillian was the first principal. There were 2 preschool classes taught by Debbie, and then 1 kindergarten class was taught by Linda Versosa, and we had a whopping enrollment of 6 students. Brother Orem Trone took over as principal in 1995, and then Cherie assumed the position in 1996 with an enrollment of 34 students. So weekly chapel services, concerts, musical performances, they were all held here in this auditorium. Actually, I used to sit right there for chapel. It's this stage, the new stage, this space has significant meaning to a lot of people. The school continued to meet here in the fellowship hall until January of 2005. At that point, we moved out to 3955 Lithia Pinecrest Road in Valrico. By that time, FCA served students in grades pre-K through 8th grade. Now, so when Cherie developed the schedule that year, she built in 3 weeks for Christmas, not to give everybody an extra week off, but to give everybody an extra week of heavy labor, because we moved the entire school over to FCA proper, where we are now, in that last week before opening our doors in January. I was added to the staff in 2008. As I recall, I was serving at the board at the time, and I got a call from Kenny, and he said something to the effect of, "Johnathan, I'd like you to step down from the board." And I thought, what have I done to deserve such treatment from you? And he went on to say, "I'd like you to step down from the board because it's time that we build a high school, and I would like you to take on that responsibility." So after about 15 or 20 minutes of laughing, and after talking it over with Cherie, I did make a very difficult decision, as many of our teachers often do, to leave my 20-year career in public school and go labor for the Lord on Lithia. So our enrollment at the time was 143. We were well on our way. And that also gave us the confidence to go ahead and open up the high school. Our first graduating class was the class of 2012. We graduated 9 students right here behind me. Interestingly, 3 of that original 9 had graduated 13 years earlier in kindergarten, also on that stage. So we were having growing pains, believe it or not, as early as 2013, 14. So the board had discussed several times the possibility of expansion. And the expansion on the property was realized, and so we broke ground, and they brought in a bunch of trucks and covered up our basketball court, and filled it up with dirt, and then like at 3 in the morning, I think it was 3 a.m., they brought in these concrete trucks. This was the day of our groundbreaking, and they started pouring the pad for what we call the Centerplex in the high school building now. And they weren't finished when we got started, but we labored on. It was actually, looking back, it was pretty special. It was loud, but it was pretty special. So we were blessed. Now, those who were there, this would have been the spring of 2015. We were having school in a construction zone. So we had tape and cones and everything, and kids were walking by this construction zone like, every day. And I don't think that I slept very well for those 5 or 6 months until we got the kids out. But from start to finish, we completed that building in 7 months. So another blessing. Things had to go pretty much exactly the way they needed to go for us to be able to open in the fall of 2016. So after they poured the pad, this is kind of a neat little time lapse there. They started putting up those girders and trusses, and which formed the shell. I don't know where Ken finds his workers, but boy, look at this. These guys, they get her done. Actually, I had to be very quick. I would go out there 2 or 3 times a day because they would put up an entire wall in just a few hours. And then these stucco guys, they were amazing. If you've never been to our building, they did a cool little texture on our building, but them putting up the stucco alone was amazing at how quickly they got that done. So we're nearing the opening of school, and this is preparing for our orientation. Samantha has a little map, and she gets everybody set up for orientation. And while all of this is going on in the gym, they're testing out the sound equipment and all of that. This is literally hours before our kids came in for orientation. And while they're doing that, my teachers are next door assembling furniture that had just been delivered that week. So we had these big, beautiful, empty classrooms with no furniture. And as I recall, I think the chairs were late, or we got them just the day before. Anyway, we were able to open our new facility, and we moved in, and there were lots of smiles, needless to say. So I'd like to talk to you just briefly about what makes FCA unique. There are other private schools in the area. When families tour FCA, I ask them, please make sure that you visit all of the other schools in the area, because you need as much information as you can have to make a decision, because it's an important decision. First, it's a great decision that they've chosen Christian education. There's something different about Kingdom Ed. We believe in academics. You'll see in just a moment that's true. But we put academics together with Christian Ed and try to frame their world in a different different way, at least through a different lens. So some of the things that makes FCA different in this area, because you have Emmanuel Lutheran, Shoals Baptist, Providence Christian, St. Stephen's, Nativity, Central Baptist, Grace Christian, Sefner, Florida College Academy. You have a lot of great private schools. We don't compete against them because we consider them our brother schools and sister schools. What makes us unique? We are one of the few schools in this area that has a pre-K through 12th grade program. We're not a recognized mission of any congregation. It is a personal mission of the teachers and the staff who work there, but we don't receive money from a congregation. Now that sounds like, okay, big deal, but every other private school, chances are they're receiving a line item on their budget from contributions. And additionally, they usually have like a church leader or elder who serves on their board. FCA is entirely funded through tuition, donations, fundraising, and scholarships. FCA doesn't advertise. We've always relied on word of mouth, and it's served us well. It also builds a sense of belonging among all of our families. If they're happy, they go tell other people. If they're not happy, they usually leave. FCA holds 2 accreditations. Most schools in this area hold 1. We hold an accreditation from the National Christian School Association, and we hold an accreditation from the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which we all call SACS accreditation. It's now called the Advanced Ed. It's the world's largest accrediting agency. In a nutshell, it just means that my diploma is accepted by every college in the United States and beyond. We are members of 2 athletic leagues. We are members of the Tampa Bay Christian Athletic League, and we're also members of the Florida High School Athletic Association. So we offer sports, one of the few schools that offer organized sports from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. FCA has an independent board of trustees that's affiliated with multiple congregations of the Churches of Christ. We have representation from the Valrico Church of Christ and the Bay Area Church of Christ. FCA has 23 consecutive years under the direction of the same administrator, Cherie, and even more impressive than that, since our inception, we've had the same board president for 27 years, Ken Franklin Jr. That's unheard of in the private school world. So when you have that kind of leadership over that kind of length of time, you tend to have a pretty good idea of who you are and your identity. A couple of quick facts. Make sure I'm not getting lost here, which I do from time to time. Okay, so currently we have 350 students preschool through 12th grade, and this year we'll graduate 23 seniors. Some of those seniors have been with us since preschool. This slide here is a slide that represents where we have current students or where students have been accepted. So we will have or do have or have had students at these universities. 100% of our students are accepted into college. 94% of them are accepted into the program of their first choice. Now that doesn't mean that every one of our students goes to college. Several of our graduates are currently serving their country in the armed services. I think that last count we had 2 Marines, an Army, or maybe 2 Army, 1 Navy, and 1 Air Force to be. 1 student is going to join the Air Force. We've even had several of our graduates who owned their own business when they graduated from high school. If you buy clams at Costco, you just bought them from an FCA alumni. 38% of our students identify with an ethnic minority. We have 49 faculty and staff that are employed at FCA. The average teacher to student ratio is 16-1. That's school-wide. We serve families from Valrico, Riverview, Brandon, Summerfield, Plant City, Progress Village, Temple Terrace, Ruskin, Wesley Chapel, and Waimama. And our re-enrollment for next year, we have a 92% re-enrollment rate. Before I go into some of the programs that that we've established over the years, I thought it fitting to read a list of who the board members at FCA have been. Some of these names are going to be familiar to you. You probably sat next to a few of them. You may or may not have known that they served as a board member. Mitch Aubaugh, Tom Bullard, Harold Cook, Grace Davis, Claire DeBoeuf, Ken Franklin Jr., Ken Franklin Sr., Kelly Hale, Ernie Hudson, Pam Key, Ryan Colleen, Dale Larson, Peggy Maddox, Tom Manley, Lori McCula, Marvin Phillips, Gary Richardson, Mark Rodefeld, Shannon Sewell, Johnathan Smith, Cherie Smith, Dan Solano, Larry Stevens, Pam Stevens, Bert Thomas, Jay Trevelyan Humes, Laurie Walsh, and Ken Ward. At one point in FCA's history, those have been your board members. We have faculty from the following congregations: the Bay Area Church of Christ, the Bell Shoals or Creekside Church of Christ, Church of Christ at Forest Hills, Church of Christ at Henderson, Manhattan Avenue Church of Christ, the Church of Christ at North Livingston, Riverview Church of Christ, Seminole Church of Christ, and the Church of Christ at Valrico. Our existing staff, preschool, is Lisa Culm, Kelly DeBoeuf, Megan Jackson, and Kylie Harris. Our elementary staff is Star Bright, Tim Fannin, Mallory Lentine, Jacqueline Logan, Kathy Metz, Rachel Newman, Tracy Olding, Daphne Richard, Cheryl Schrantz, and Caitlin Smith. My team, middle school and high school, Bethany Austin, Beth Bailey, Cody Barth, Lucy Barth, Nina Corrallison, Corey Hoke. I guess I can announce this now. We just added a new teacher. Mr. Jared Larson is going to be joining our staff. We're very excited by that. Diana Manis, David McNeely, Willie Murphy, Margaret Reeves, Terry Reeves, Megan Robbins, Rosa Zawicki, J.P. Smith, Teresa Spingler, Kristen Whitley. Custodial staff consists of Brian and Dawn Currier, Jack Bergholtz, and Evan Klaus. And our administrative staff is Donna Buckner, Matilda Cowan, Holly Gainey, Bonnie Martin, Samantha Tedrow, George Mobley. Our guidance counselor is Janae Riddle. Dean of Students is Donald Ballard. Cherie's the elementary and preschool principal. I'm the middle and high school principal. Julio is the assistant principal, and our athletic director is Pamela Colley. That's the slide that I forgot to put in there. So aren't you glad that's over? So I appreciate your patience. So let's go back to this. One of the first programs that we built, we were building actually here through our participation with the Tampa Bay Christian Athletic League. If you were here, or one of your students, one of your children were here, you remember it used to be called the Brandon Christian Athletic League. So BCAL became TBCAL, and among the sports that we play, these are athletes from fourth grade. Well, actually, cross country goes all the way down to kindergarten. But for fourth grade through eighth grade, we have volleyball, girls and boys basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, and golf. And again, that's grades 4 through 8. We're also members of the Florida High School Athletic Association. Now, interestingly, this association allows us to play down to 7th grade. So if we get a kid on a high school team in 7th grade, we've got them for 6 years, which is what we're just now learning how to do. So in our high school athletics, we have cross country, we have girls volleyball, boys volleyball, we have girls soccer, boys soccer, we have girls basketball, boys basketball, we have baseball, softball, we have golf, we have cheerleading, And then this year, we just added wrestling. Our wrestling team won third place at a regional tournament. I would love to pronounce the name of that tournament, but I'm not even going to dare. David, you want to try? Yeah. So we've been very blessed by our athletes. Pretty much, if a kid wants to play sports at FCA, we find a place for them. We don't guarantee playing time, but we try to get them in and on the field or court as often as possible. And of course, more importantly, we develop their ability and their skills in practice. So all of our teams have never played to score the most points. That's nice when we do. It's pretty awesome. We high-five each other and get on the bus and drive home. But we've always had, across the board, our priority, our fundamental, is to represent God in everything that we do, especially on the field. So some of the groups that we have represented, we have the Student Government Association, the National Junior Honor Society, the National Honor Society. We also have two service groups at FCA. We have a sorority for young women called Phi Delta. Phi Delta stands for Filius Deus, which means daughters of God. Beta Chi is the young men's fraternity. Beta Chi stands for Brothers in Christ. And these young men and women, they schedule community service events throughout the year. So Beta Chi, at one time, they were doing the Habitat for Humanity. And so they would go build a house. It was fine for the girls to join them too. But now they do campus cleanups. Julio kind of shepherds that group. And our Phi Delta girls, they do everything from blood drives to tea parties for the elementary girls. It's pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun to watch. So once we got the new place, we really started putting an emphasis into our fine arts program. There was nothing wrong with our program before, but we had to do everything in the multi-purpose room over there. And if you've been over there, you know how confined you are. So once we had the space and the stage to showcase our talent, the program has just exploded, especially over the last 2 years. We have two visual art teachers, and they teach from elementary all the way through high school. We recently did our sports banquet. This is the one, fine arts, I said sports, didn't I? Thank you. The fine arts banquet, this is the one that sold for $200, right? Yeah. So we auctioned off some of the kids' artwork, and this is one of Terry Reeves' students. This painting here sold for $200. I wish somebody had taken a picture of the kid's face when they told them it was $200. It would be more priceless than the painting. But we have some exceptional young artists who are practicing their craft, and we're thrilled to be able to give them not only that instruction, but to give them the stage to display their work. So again, our art program reaches all the way down into pre-K. Those little ones, they're learning how to paint their clothes even now. So we have two bands. We have a beginning band and we have an advanced band. We have 4 choruses. We have an elementary chorus, a 6th grade chorus, a middle school chorus, and a high school chorus. We have drama and theater classes, but then also pre-K, they do 2 of the cutest shows. You've got to come see one of these shows. They do a Thanksgiving show. That's hilarious. And then kindergarten, they put on shows as well. And we, again, now that we have the room. So we do a school-wide theater production in the fall. And then we do a school-wide musical production in the spring. So last year we did Wizard of Oz. And then the year before that we did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Our play this past year was Arsenic and Old Lace. And there's Snoopy, he was hilarious. So this is a shot of the gym the night of the Fine Arts Banquet. I forget the total. I think we had 320, something like that. It was a great evening. It was catered by Carrabba's, and people bought tickets in advance, and the theater kids performed, the band kids, the chorus was phenomenal. They did a scene from Hamilton, which was excellent. So, those are some of the programs that we've developed over the years. There's an old Cajun word called lagniappe. If you are from the New Orleans area, or if you happen to know a Cajun, you may have heard this word. Lagniappe actually means a little something extra. If you went into a bakery and bought a dozen donuts and he'd drop an extra one in there, that's the lagniappe. So at FCA, we use that word kind of to focus our minds on delivering something extra. Because these parents and these students are coming to school. We're a choice. They're making a choice to enroll with us. So for their trust in us, we want to provide them with a little lagniappe. We also call it plus 1%, 1% above what they expect. So some of that lagniappe, I'm going to start these slides behind me. This is impossible to capture. So I'm just going to start it and let it run. They're in no particular order, but I've just grabbed a couple of pics from some of the things that we've done, and while they're floating through the back, I'll read from a list that I have here. Yeah. I want to make sure this thing turns. Yeah, okay. So part of our lagniappe, we have elementary competitions, including the science fair, the math bowl, spelling bee, Battle of the Books. We organize a yearly camp out on the PE field. That's the Foundation Fathers, and Donald's very gracious enough to come cook hot dogs for us, and Julio's brave enough to spend the night out there with those guys. Preschool and elementary students have integrated Bible every day. And they have their chapel. Preschool has a separate chapel. Preschool and elementary chapels are on Wednesday. Our middle school and our high school students, they have Bible class 3 times a week. And instead of grouping them by grade level, we group them by grade and gender. So we have boys' Bible class and girls' Bible class. So we'll have a 9th grade boys class and a 9th grade girls class. The feedback that we've gotten since we started this was they love it. Parents love it. The kids love it. The teachers love it. We're able to really address some pretty significant deeper level stuff in those classes. So middle school and high school, we have 2 chapels per week. We have a Monday chapel, which is either a singing chapel or it's reserved for a guest speaker. And then we have a Wednesday chapel, which is our normal weekly service. Also on Wednesday, for middle and high school, after just before lunch, we have a time set aside to meet with our mentors. Every student, grades 6 through 12, has a mentor on campus. That means myself and each of my team, we have 8 to 12 mentees. So we meet with our mentees a minimum of once per week. That can be in a group, it can be individually, or it can be both. And this is how we account for educating the whole child. So the areas that we're focusing in on are social, emotional, academic, and spiritual, instead of just an academic counseling session. So this is the time that we get to know the kids. Like, we don't assume that kids are ready for school when they arrive. A lot of them are coming to us with some anxiety. They may have lost a pet, or one of their family members might be sick, and they might be thinking about them. And this is a great time just to sit down with your teacher and pray. We certainly will drop everything that we're doing to pray with our kids. It's one of the things we look forward to. And we've helped kids with a lot of serious struggles. So we have field trips, and they're planned for all students, preschool through high school. They include such venues as Lowry Park Zoo, the Florida Aquarium, Nature's Classroom, the Holocaust Museum, Old McMickey's Petting Farm, the Straz Center for the Performing Arts, Cracker Country, Washington, D.C., the Alafaya River Rendezvous. This year we're taking a new trip to Bach Tower for a team building. We used to go to the Holy Land Experience, and it was an experience. So for those of you who've been. So we're always looking for these educational opportunities away from campus that kids and faculty enjoy. FCA organizes several social and service events after hours. These include game nights. We do a homecoming bonfire. We have movie nights. We do an elementary tea party for the little girls in elementary. We recently had a ping pong tournament, ice cream social, campus beautification, work days, a spring formal, and on and on. There's something going on every week. We have one of the most active student government associations that I've worked with. SGA is most, let me rephrase this, most SGAs that I've worked with are just about kind of doing the same old routine that they've done before. This SGA and all previous ones, they look for new events, and they really do represent the people who voted for them. It's kind of a great lesson. So we schedule spirit days, character parades, book fairs. We do a cancer awareness support day. We do a national day of prayer, of course. We have prayer circles. There's an event called See You at the Pole. It's a public school event. It was organized from a group of kids in Texas because they couldn't pray in public school. They started meeting at the flagpole before school, and nobody could stop them. And we participate in that because we want our students to realize the blessings of going to a private Christian school. We can pray every day, all day, and we do, especially before midterms and finals. But in a public school environment, and I'm speaking from my experience, not from anything else, in a public school environment, I could have gotten reprimanded for praying with a student. So this is a blessing that we never want our kids to take that for granted. So again, there's no effective way for me to capture in 41 minutes everything that goes on out there. FCA has never been about bricks and windows. FCA has always been about the people, the students, the teachers, the families, the staff, everybody that works there. They've made a decision to be there, so they want to be there. I wanted to teach in my 20 years in public school, and I was probably more motivated by the paycheck and the benefits than the camaraderie and the time that I should have had with students. But here, this is a blessing for me. It is a blessing for the people, to love the people I work with. I never had that before. And these are my brothers and sisters. And so we labor together. Everything is a team effort. So, but I did want to share one special day with you. This kind of, for me, it kind of sums up the reason that I'm still at FCA. After 10 years, I think I'd like to stay there until I die. I don't really have plans to retire. I have the best job in the world, and I get to work with the best people in the world, and we get to teach the best kids in the world. But this was one special day, just a few years ago, where a brother and I had the opportunity to baptize one of our little ones.
So, Becca, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God and that he came and died and took away the sins of the world, including your own? Upon that confession before men, Jesus is confessing you right now in front of the angels. And the Bible says there's great rejoicing by the angels whenever one person is saved. And there's about to be a big party in heaven in just a couple of seconds. All right, Becca, here we go.
So, Becca, based on your confession, I now baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy
Spirit. There is only one God. There is only one King. There is only one body. That is why we sing. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with chains that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with love.
So we shut down middle school for about an hour, and we took them all outside. Becca very much wanted a public confession, and it was just an amazing day. I can't really describe it in a way that you would know what it was like to be there. The question we get asked most is, was there an alligator in that pond? And there is an alligator in that pond. But he wasn't out that morning. I don't even think we had seen him for a while. Anyway, it's just a beautiful day. And, you know, how can you complain about a job or anything after a morning like that? What I love is during the confession, you know, Terry gets choked up. He's such a big-hearted guy. And he was getting choked up, and you could hear the birds back there, you know, chattering. It was beautiful. It was great. I'll close with a reference back to the Exodus 12, 31 through 36. I hope you had an opportunity to hear Brother Barclay speak last week. It's just funny how these things happen. He hit on a series of verses that Donald and I have had many discussions on over the years that he's been laboring along with us there. And I remember at one point I was telling Donald the way it felt for me is when I first came on board at FCA, I struggled a little bit because I was responsible for that whole school, right? And I forgot that I'm not, right? I forgot that I ain't really in control. So the way I described it to Donald is once I learned how to get out of God's way and let Him have His will, it's been amazing to see the myriad ways this school has grown and how it has affected people. Now, we don't keep track of the baptisms that come through our school. We were trying to estimate the number of kids and families who have who have made the decision to be baptized. We think it's somewhere between 80 and 100. We don't know. That's our purpose is to be focused on the Word. Get those kids in the Word. Keep them in the Word. Brother Barclay, his entire series of lessons, were on stewardship. And the takeaway, the thing that just slapped me in the face was God provides the resources before they're needed. So I have seen that, Sheree has seen that lived out so many ways. Everybody who has ever worked at FCA or everybody who's ever served as a board member or a volunteer, they were brought in at just the weirdest time, you know? So we stopped questioning that, and we just kind of accept it. We don't know what he's up to, but God's up to something. We're just glad to be a part of it. But just as the children of Israel, they were freed after 430 years of bondage, and Moses is about to take them out into the desert, and they had their dough and all their belongings and livestock and cattle and all of that. Oh wait, but we're going to stop and get some silver and some gold and some brass to take with us out into the desert. Why would you need that out there? Unless you were going out there to build a tabernacle. So God has a design and a goal, and he provides the resources before they're needed. He's used a lot of us in a lot of different ways. You may be one of those resources. You may be have already been called. You may be about to be called. So I want to close again by thanking you for your attention, and the elders and Rex for asking me to speak. If there's anything that we can do for you, we're about to sing an invitation song. If you'll make your way down front, we'll help you out in any way that we can. God bless you. God keep you. And again, thank you so much.